Good morning, living Lord. It is good to be here with you this morning on a warm, bright, sunny morning here in the suburbs of Chicago. Yes, no, it's sunny and bright. It's not warm at all. But we are here with the warmth of God's love to come and worship and praise and pray and to bring those praises and to bring you into this circle of love. And so we're so glad to be here with you. Just a reminder that at the conclusion of this at 11:30, we hope to be starting our annual meeting. There is a Zoom link for that you should have been sent out. Please check your Living News update that should have come on Wednesday, and the Zoom link is on there. There was also one that was sent out separately, so please check your Zoom links for that so that you have the password and the meeting code in order to come and join the annual meeting. What we are missing this morning as we gather here in the sanctuary is that smell of pancakes and sausages and everything that we usually have on this Sunday, and that is because it is Scout Sunday. And usually the Scouts are here and they provide us breakfast. So we will have a greeting from them later on in the service today, but we're thinking about them today and we miss them here in this space. Also, being that it's the annual meeting, we would have had lunch too, and that would have been in one of our wonderful potlucks. And so we're missing that today too, and the miles and miles of tables down in the center hallway as we would make our way down to the meeting space. But we hope to join you on Zoom and see what you're eating for lunch today, but it'll be a good time nevertheless. We do need to have you in on that Zoom meeting, and we would love to have you join us so that we can have a quorum and conduct the annual business of the church. As we get started this morning, it is time. It is time to go down to the river. Ooh, doesn't sound like a good polar plunge this morning, but we're going to go down to the river and be reminded of our baptism where we gather as a family. Please sing along with the band.
I know a place where we can go to lay the troubles down, eating your soul. I know a place where mercy flows, make the stains, make it whiter than snow. Like a tide, it is rising up deep inside a current that moves and makes you come alive. Living water that brings the dead to life. Oh, oh, oh. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Let's get washed by the water, and rise up in amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You will leave trace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same. I've seen it move in my own life. Took me from dusty roads into paradise. All of my dirt, all of my shame, drowned in the streams that have made me born again. Like a tide, it is rising up deep inside a current that moves and makes you come alive. Living water that brings the dead to life. Oh, oh, oh. We're going down to the river, down to the river, down to the river to pray. Let's get washed by the water, and rise up in amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You will leave change. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same. We're going down to the river, down to the river to pray. Let's get washed something amazing grace. Let's go down, down, down to the river. You will be changed. Let's go down, down, down to the river. Never the same.
We do so appreciate you gathering with us this morning in the midst of a chilly, cold, winter. It's good to feel the warmth of those gathered, even online with others. So it's good to have you here, and we know that weeks are hectic and times are tough all over the place. So let's take some time and center ourselves as we come into this worship time with God. So close your eyes if you wish. Take a deep breath and breathe out. And as you breathe in that Spirit of God, the Spirit that can calm and the Spirit that can warm. And as you breathe out, relax your shoulders. Let go of the tension that may have been surrounding you this week. Come into God's presence and continue to know that God is here. In the midst of all things, troubles or triumphs, joys or sorrows, God walks beside us. Christ is there, and the Spirit is leading. One more breath in, and breathe out. And gently open your eyes and come back to this space. And know that whatever has happened this week in your life, for whatever things have gone wrong, things said or unsaid, you know you rest in God's grace and God's forgiveness. We make decisions each and every day, sometimes hour by hour, as to who we are. And by virtue of our baptism, we have been given that position, that we are children of God and inheritors of the kingdom. Let's sing along with the band, Who You Say I Am.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but He brought me in. Oh, His love for me. Oh, His love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last He has ransomed me, His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Together, let's join in prayer. Eternal and everlasting God, you are the one who comes to give us strength when we're weak and when we are powerless. You come and lift us up. Make us agents of your healing and wholeness, that your good news can be made known to people all over the ends of the earth. We pray this through Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. Now, gather together, snuggle up, and hear the reading for today presented to us from the Biesenthals. And so we thank them for recording that. And so get ready for the reading for today.
Good morning. A reading from Isaiah, the 40th chapter. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them like a tent to live in, who brings princes to naught, and makes the rulers of the earth as nothing. Scarcely are they planted, scarcely sown, scarcely has their stem taken root in the earth, when he blows upon them, and they wither, and the tempest carries them off like stubble. To whom then will you compare me, or who is my equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see. Who created these? He who brings out their host and numbers them, calling them all by name. Because he is great in strength, mighty in power, not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Here ends the reading.
The Holy Gospel for this day is according to Mark, the 1st chapter. As soon as Jesus and the disciples left the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now, Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they told him about her at once. And Jesus came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her, and she began to serve them. That evening at sundown, they brought to Jesus all who were sick or possessed with demons, and the whole city was gathered around the door. And he cured many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons. And he would not permit the demons to speak, because they knew him. In the morning, while it was still very dark, Jesus got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed. And Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, "Everyone is searching for you." And Jesus answered, "Let's go into the neighboring towns, so that I may proclaim the message there also, for that is what I came out to do." And he went throughout Galilee, proclaiming the message in their synagogues and casting out demons. This is the gospel of our Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Dear friends, grace and peace to you this day in fullest measure through Christ our Lord. Amen. So as we gather today on the day of our annual meeting for this congregation, this is the gospel where Jesus goes to Peter's house, and Peter's mother-in-law is not feeling well. Did she have COVID? I don't know. She had a fever for sure. But we have a story of healing, a story of prayer, a story of service. It's an interesting lesson, and many things can come out of it. And friend and colleague David Lose, who writes a column every week, pointed out a few things in this lesson. And I'd like to use those for a jumping off point today. First of all, did you know Peter was married? Well, you do because of this gospel. And if you've heard it before, you know that he has a mother-in-law. And all mother-in-law jokes aside, obviously Peter respected his very much. Or did he? Who in the world would bring guests and colleagues over to their mother-in-law's house when she's not feeling well? Don't you think she would have wanted to just have a little bit of his head? Oh my gosh. But we get a glimpse into the disciples. Sometimes we look at the disciples and think they're kind of in the superhero category, that they had so many other things going on, that they were so perfect that Jesus chose them, that we could never ever seek to be them. And yet, here they are, just like everybody else. Maybe the bunch of guys, Simon, Andrew, James, John, "Oh, let's go over to your mom's house. Let's go over. You know, she'll have something to eat. There'll be a big spread out." And you know what? There wasn't. She wasn't even feeling well enough to get up and put out the food that had been pre-cooked for the Sabbath. And Jesus came and took her by the hand and lifted her up, is the way our translation says it. Lifted her up, and yet the verb that's used there is this same verb that is used later on in talking about Christ being raised from the dead. He raised her up, not lifted her. Raised her up. This was a resurrection story. Was she that ill? Perhaps. But this is what our gospel writer writes. Jesus is about the business of resurrection. of bringing things back to life. And then we have the fact that, yes, she's brought back to life, but immediately she begins to serve. And we're thinking, wow, really? Is that all she's good for? But it sets the example. Because the service that she performs is still used today. Diakonia, a deacon. She is raised up to serve, for her service in the world. And like it or not, that's part of our job description too. We are raised up by Christ to serve. That is the job description for us. And here we have an encapsulated version of what Jesus' job description is. He's there to proclaim the good news. He's there to heal those who are there. And he's there to resist the demons of the day. Not a bad thing for us, too, that we are here to serve, that we are here to heal by our acts and our words, that we are here to proclaim the good news, and that we're here to continue to spread that and resist the powers of the world that would draw us away from that. That's in our baptismal vows too, to resist the forces of evil. Then we have a third part of this story that comes to us today, where early in the morning Jesus gets up and goes away and takes time to pray. I'm not sure if you realize how many times this happens within our scriptures, that Jesus goes away by himself to take time to pray and to meet God. And often the disciples go along too. There are those times when they are invited. In fact, in that very last week, they are invited into the garden with him while he prays, while he goes to meet God. But an interesting thing is that it always seems like it's always the guys. They're always taken off to a deserted place or up on a mountain or away from the crowds, out in the boat, someplace separate to meet God. We started this story with Simon's mother-in-law. And I wondered, what about her? What about the rest of the women? And then I remembered, and you will too. Well, the men always seem to go away to meet God. It's the women to whom God comes while they're at work, while they're at the well getting water, while they're doing everyday tasks, or over-preparing a meal like Martha and Mary. Wherever they are, even at the tomb, going about the business of the day, preparing a body for its burial, God meets them. See, I don't think it's a matter of what your gender is. Whether you take time apart and go away to meet God in a quiet time, or whether you've realized that isn't part of your life right now. That things are so busy and chaotic that you can't separate yourself. Whichever it is, God meets you. find this part of the gospel very reassuring. That no matter what our situation is, no matter where we are or we aren't, God will meet us. In this last part of the gospel, too, we think of this particularly as a healing story. Certainly a healing for Simon's mother-in-law. But then what it says is, they brought all who were sick to him. But followed carefully by, and he cured many. Maybe you never caught that one before. They brought them all, and he cured many. The interesting thing about our scriptures is the words that are sometimes lost in translation. To cure is different from to heal. They're two separate words. To cure comes from the Greek word therapeuo, and we know where that has its roots, therapies. And that's what doctors use all the time now, to cure people. There might be medical therapies, medicines, treatments, and they are all therapies to cure. But the word and the verb used to heal is the same verb that can be translated to save. Simon's mother-in-law was raised up. She was healed, but she was cured. She was saved. Sometimes it's hard when we start to pray and we don't think about all of the things that go into a healing. We want the cure. But God is also there to heal. And for some, that final healing may come when they are at home with Christ. We rejoice in the healing and the saving powers of Christ that are there for us too. Yes, there will often be cures, but we know because we are part of God's people that we have the assurance that ultimately we are saved. Hold that in your heart this week as we continue to go through times that may be difficult or times that may be joyous. The disciples and followers were merely human beings. That God meets us wherever we are, in quiet places or busy times. That God comes not only to cure, but to heal us and bring us home again. Amen.
Healing rain is coming down. It's coming nearer to this old town, rich and poor, the weak and strong. It's bringing mercy, it won't be long. Healing rain is coming down. It's coming closer to the of joy and tears of shame are washed forever in Jesus' name. Healing rain, it comes with fire, so let it fall and take us higher. Healing rain, I'm not afraid to be washed in heaven's rain. Lift your heads, let us return to the mercy seat where time began. And in your eyes I see the pain. Come soak this dry heart with healing rain. And only you, the Son of Man, could take a leper and let him stand. So lift your hands, they can be held by someone greater, the great I am. Healing rain, it comes with fire, so let it fall and take us higher. Healing rain, I'm not afraid to be washed in heaven's rain, to be washed in heaven's rain.
I invite you now to lift your voice and join me in prayer as we pray for those that are known to God and for those that we know and are in need of God's presence and healing. Today we pray for the church, for ministries of healing and wholeness, for hospitals, for hospice care, for chaplains, for medical attendants, for those serving in prisons, for all who proclaim freedom and release in the name of Christ. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. We pray today for the nations, for all who lead in cities and towns, states and countries, for community organizers, school officials, for CEOs and international health organizations, that in times of trial, fear, or hopelessness, they find freedom in service to those most in need. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. For all today who are wearied by the burdens they carry, for those who are poor, for those who lack a supportive relationship, for those crushed by debt, for those who struggle with chronic pain or other sickness, for those who have received difficult diagnoses, for those exhausted from overwork or stress, for all who cry out to you. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. For this congregation, on the day of our annual meeting as we pray and plan for the future of this congregation, for outreach, for social ministries centered here, for youth ministries, ministries of companionship and support, for the young people here, for music ministries, and all in this place who open us to new understandings. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. We pray today in thanksgiving for those who have gone home to live with you, who were called by name and who now rest from their work, that their lives serve as witnesses to the goodness of God. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Merciful God, hear the prayers of your people, spoken or silent, for the sake of the one who dwells among us, your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Please share a sign of that peace with your neighbor, with those in your household. And if you'd like to make a little video clip of sharing the peace in your household or with your small group, we would love to have you send that in to us. Now, we also hear from our Boy Scouts in the troop that meets here in this congregation as they bring us greetings at this time on Scout Sunday. We want to give thanks to Scouts who have continued to be a wonderful part of this congregation, and we give thanks for their service, especially today. And we give thanks for you as you have continued to support this congregation through your offerings. We remind you that you may do that online. You may do it through contributions that are mailed in, doing it by your bill pay service in your bank, or dropping off offerings here in the drop box by door number 1. We thank you for all of that. Let us pray. Oh God, we ask you to receive these gifts as you receive us, with arms open wide. Nourish us in your tender care and strengthen us in faithful service to tend to others with the same love that you show to us. Through Jesus Christ, our saving grace, who taught us to pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Just a couple of announcements as we wind up our worship time today. We again remind you that the annual meeting will take place starting at 11:30. Please go to that Zoom link and join the meeting, and we will have some instructions there for you. I wish we were gathering here with a potluck luncheon, but who knows? Next year, we'll hope for better things, and we'll be filling our stomachs while we do the business of the church. But we do need you today to do that also. Now, receive God's blessings as we go forward into this week. to raise others up, and to heal, and to continue to be blessed by God as we come to God and God comes to us. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord's face radiate with joy because of you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Now let's remember, what shines in this world brightly is our presence with God's strength. Let's sing along with the band. You shine. A word for the day, Bob. Thanks for reminding me. And the word for today is heal. H-E-A-L. Heal.
Why should I fear man when you made the heavens? Why should I be afraid when you put the stars in place? Why should I lose heart when I know how great you are? Why should I give up when your plans are full of love? In this world we will have trouble, but you have overcome the world. You shine brighter than the brightest star. Your love purer than the purest heart. You shine, filling us with courage and strength to follow you. Why should I fear man when you made the heavens? Why should I be afraid when you put the stars in place? Why should I lose heart when I know how great you are? Why should I give up when your plans are full of love? In this world we will have trouble, but you have overcome the world. You shine brighter than the brightest star. Your love purer than the purest heart. You shine, filling us with courage and strength to follow you.
We're a little bit rock and roll today, but it's good to be with you today. Go in peace and serve the Lord, and meet us on Zoom at 11:30. Thanks be to God.
Why should I fear man when you made the heavens? Why should I be afraid when you put the stars in place? Why should I lose heart when I know how great you are? Why should I give up when your plans are full of love? this world we will have trouble.